So welcome everybody. We are going to be talking about chemical toxicity, chemical sensitivity. Are you tired or are you toxic? Anybody have a question about that? Like, am I tired or toxic? Like, it's a little confusing sometimes, right? So we're going to get into that. I actually have a lot of things that are going to probably make you, kind of shake your head a little bit. Maybe be a little bit overwhelmed. Don't go home and burn your house down. You might feel that way. We're also going to get into some solutions of how we handle this stuff. So at first it might be a little bit like, a little overwhelming. But then we're going to give you some solutions of how to take care of some of this stuff, okay? So before we get into the hard stuff, we'll kind of talk about the State of the Union, kind of what's the State of the Union, where are we at as far as chemical sensitivity and how we got there. Human tests are now showing that 100% of human fat is toxic with PCBs, styrene, and dioxins. Do you guys know where this stuff's coming from? Like dioxins and PCBs, like 100%. So all of our fat, if we tested all of our fat, it's all got this stuff in it. Why does it go to the fat? Do you ever wonder that? Or why does fat stay on our body because of it? That's really a better question, right? Sometimes we're not releasing the fat because it's protecting our nervous system, right, from these dangerous chemicals, right? USA Today reports the average public water is contaminated with over 500 chemicals, and even in the placenta, when they test the umbilical cord, there's a couple hundred chemicals that are tested in that. And that's kind of crazy because that was never like that before. And really the reason why they're seeing that is because of the overload of the chemicals, right, that we're getting. And what is the number one cause of death in children under 6? Do you guys know? What's the number one cause? What's the disease? That's a good one. Cancer, right? Imagine all those chemicals that tiny little infant is having to deal with, a couple hundred chemicals, right? And when they're right at birth, right? And our body has a better immune system at that point to be able to deal with it. So we really have to get a handle on knowing what this stuff is all about. 100% of humans have toxic DDT. Do you guys know where that's coming from? Okay, think about the airplanes that fly over our head every time the mayor decides that she wants to, right, get rid of a mosquito, right? Do you guys know they come by in the middle of the night and they spray? So we wonder why we're all getting the flu at the same time, right? Or we're all getting sick at the same time. It's because we're getting all this DDT sprayed into the air. Now, I did go to her office and tell her this was not a good plan, and I told her what she should do, but she didn't care. I tried. Maybe if we all do that, right? So again, by age 6, some children now have half their total lifetime amount of cancer-causing chemicals. Over 50 to 90% of foods in the U.S. has detectable levels of pesticide residues. It's kind of scary, yeah? Kind of scary. So that, we can see where we got 100% of this is in our fat. 95% of cancers are caused by diet and environmental triggers. The good news about that is we can control that, right? It's something we can do about that. And cancer is now the leading cause of death in children ages 1 through 15. Does anybody know what that is? You recognize that? So in the 70s, they started doing the insulation, and they were using, do you remember what the chemical was that they were using? Formaldehyde, right? It was formaldehyde. It was the UFFI, the urea foam formaldehyde insulation, that they were injecting in homes in the 70s. So if you have a home that's that old, you can be sure that that's what they injected in there. Now that turns into what in our body? What does that turn into? Formaldehyde. Now, do you know what they use formaldehyde? Embalming for cadavers, right? When we were in chiropractic school, we had 1 whole year of working, with cadavers so we could learn the human body. And we were always sick being in that room because of the formaldehyde, right? Imagine that you're living in a home that you're smelling that all day long, what that's doing to your body. What we learned was 3 very important things from that event. When that happened in the 70s, they actually had a whole bunch of scientists come in and they studied what in the world was going on with these people, what happened, and we learned a lot of things because of that I want to share with you today. The first thing that's really important that we learned from that is the chemical sensitivity that we're talking about today. The title of the talk, Chemical Sensitivity, can cause any symptom in any person anytime. That's kind of scary, huh? It's hard to grab onto that, you know. But the primary organ that this stuff loves, these toxins that we're talking about, is what? The brain, right? And what do we deal with all day long in here, right? What is the organ that controls all function and healing in our body? The brain, right? So one very important thing that can happen to you is not only can you have the bone, the spine being out of alignment where it's actually crushing and causing damaging pressure to organs in your body that actually you need to be able to dump toxins, but you also can have what we would call chemical subluxation. Do you guys remember the word subluxation, right? Chemical subluxation. Do you see what I mean? Chemical subluxation, you got chemicals that are actually destroying the primary organ in your body that actually controls all function and healing your body. I can see people in here who actually get their curve put back in their spine, and they come see me and there's still something's not quite right. And we do these tests that we're going to talk about today. We have some different tests that we can test for this chemical toxicity, and we find out that these people have serious levels of chemical toxicity, and that is chemical subluxation. So inhibiting their body's ability to heal, right? If your brain is full of these chemicals, then it can't send the signals the way that God normally designed it to do, right? It's got to deal with the chemicals. Does that make sense? Number two, the next thing that we found out is there's a vast range of individual susceptibility. I'm going to get into that a little bit more detail as we go on further tonight. Individual susceptibility. So she may eat all advanced plan, right, and take all of her vitamins, and she may eat and have, be stressed out and maybe drive through McDonald's every day, right? And then she may actually have had her house injected with that formaldehyde. The individual susceptibility is dependent upon the amount of toxin, what am I eating, and what am I doing every day that will tell me what kind of symptoms I'm going to actually display. Does that make sense? That's the individual susceptible part. In addition, the third thing that's pretty powerful is the spreading phenomenon. Have you guys ever heard of the spreading phenomenon? So the spreading phenomenon is very powerful because the chemical sensitivity that we're talking about right now, am I chemically sensitive? Sometimes we, for example, the spreading could start out like this. I've been on a medication for allergies for 5 years, right? And this allergy medication has messed up my gut, which I'm going to show you here shortly, right? It's destroyed the gut lining, but I can't function, so I'm taking it every day, right, so that I can go to work, right? But then it's been 5 years of me taking it, and now I actually have a sensitivity to foods. Like there's certain foods that I used to love, but now I have allergies to strawberries and coconut and blueberries. And do you guys see what I'm saying? So you can start out with what we would call, quote, simple things like allergies and be doing things to, quote, treat it, what the medical model would tell you to do, and you never have these other issues. But now all of a sudden, I go outside and the smell of grass flips me, or I walk into the grocery store and the smells in the grocery store trigger me, or the pumps that they have in the bathroom that pumps out all that, wonderful, lovely, let's cover the smell of this nastiness in the bathrooms, those types of things. And then now I'm allergic to, something good like coconuts. See what I'm saying? So what we develop from this chemical sensitivity is a spreading phenomenon where we can't figure out where it's coming from, and you almost feel like you're kind of losing your mind, right? Like nobody understands me, nobody gets this. But it really begins from these overwhelming types of events that your body really doesn't know how to handle. Why is everyone not affected equally? The answer is individual xenobiotic detoxification. Everybody say xenobiotic. Xenobiotic. That's a big word, isn't it? Xenobiotic. Xenobiotic. What does xenobiotic mean? It means chemicals, right? It's just a very big, complicated word that you're going to see several times in my PowerPoint. So I want you to think of, every time you see it, I want you to be thinking of chemicals of any kind, right? Xenobiotic detoxification. So your body, God designed you, He didn't leave this part out, He designed you to be able to deal with toxins that you get exposed to. You have your own makeup system to be able to dump toxins, right? It's dependent upon several different factors that we're going to get into, but you do have that ability to be able to dump those toxins. Individually, we all have that. What we're going to do is I'll cover the xenobiotic detoxification phases. There's 2 phases that your body has to go through. So phase 1 of your body's ability to dump these toxins, right? This happens inside all of your cells in the body. Let's say, for example, these cells, one of several of the things that happens is there's a lot of enzymes that your body has to make. So you encounter, let's say you go pump gas, right? And you go pump your gas, and who likes the smell of the fumes? I did when I was little. I don't know what that was about. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah. So you go pump gas, right? And when you pump the gas, your body actually has to have the precursors to be able to deal with the, the toxins that you breathe in, right? So in this case, we have alcohol dehydrogenase is one enzyme that your body has to make to go through that first step. Alcohol dehydrogenase. Now, alcohol dehydrogenase is an enzyme that's created to help you deal with what? Alcohol, right? So when you drink too much, right? Nobody in here does that. When you drink too much, right, your body has to make alcohol dehydrogenase to deal with it, right? To dump that toxin off. Now, do you ever wonder why sometimes you can drink a glass of wine or you can drink 5 glasses of wine, and one glass of wine makes you feel worse than the 5 glasses of wine the next day? Right? Do you ever wonder, has anybody ever had that happen? Is it only me?
No.
Okay. Right? So too many glasses of wine, right? You feel bad, and it doesn't seem to match up to how many that you've consumed. And so you start to rationalize, you think maybe it wasn't it was the water or whatever. You start to go through that. But really what happens is your body has to have the precursors to make alcohol dehydrogenase. One of those things that is required is zinc. Okay? Now, if you don't have zinc, or you didn't make enough zinc that day, right? Or you don't consume it in your diet, which there's a lot of places that you can get zinc from, right? Or you don't have a really good supplement that actually has enough zinc in it, right? Or you drink too much and you had some but you just didn't have enough, right? See all those factors, how they all kind of play a role in there? In order for you to be able to clean that stuff up, you have to have those precursors, and you have to be able to make the alcohol dehydrogenase. Same thing with number 2, aldehyde oxidase requires molybdenum. That's a mineral that's found in beans. So if I am doing what the standard American diet says, right? If I'm doing that, am I getting my zinc and my molybdenum?
No.
Right? I'm not. So you guys see how it's going to make it very difficult for me to go through phase 1 to dump any kind of toxins. I sprayed my hair with hairspray. I went and got gas and I pumped gas, right? Then I went to my workplace, which maybe I clean houses for a living. And then I went home and my kids spilled something and I have bleach and I tried to clean it up. Do you see? All these different things, your body actually has to deal with it, right? And it has to have the system set up to be able to do that. So phase 2, it takes place also inside the cell, but it takes place along this cytochrome P450 system. Has anybody ever heard of this cytochrome P450 system? It's very complicated, but it's phase 2. So you just remember phase 1 and phase 2. But in this process, this is where chemical groups like the glutathione, like the sulfur compounds, they attach themselves to the chemicals, and their job is to make them bigger and kind of change the polarity of them, and then they grab the chemicals and pull them out of the system. And they do that through when we sweat, when we urine, and through stool. And so that's why I tell you guys, I want you sweating, right? A lot of you, one of the biggest issues I see with cancer, like I don't have any cancer cases that sweat. Why is it that you think somebody, might get cancer if they don't sweat? You guys think about that, right? Anybody? They're not dumping toxins, right? It's very important. You have to be able to sweat. The same thing with urine and then the stool. So your body has to be able to go through these 2 steps to be able to pull these things out of the system. Now, what major blockers are to phase 2 that we just talked about, are that each molecule of the pesticide or the chemical, 1 molecule of glutathione is used. So let's just say we pump the gas and we need that glutathione precursors, the sulfur compounds that we talked about, to be able to attach it to pull it out. Well, let's say I used it all up and I didn't consume any more precursors to make my own glutathione, right? So I didn't eat cauliflower, and I didn't do the things that make all that stuff, and maybe I didn't take my detox today, right? So I don't have enough, and then I go home and I get bleach all over myself, and now I really don't have what I need. See how I used it up with this individual situation? Every time you get exposed to a chemical, you have to be able to have all the precursors to make the good stuff for these phases, to drag them and pull them out. We live in a world now that we are the most toxic on the planet ever that we've ever been. There's actually nowhere you can go on the planet, nowhere, that you're not going to get exposed to toxins. So we have to do a lot more work now than what we used to do even 10 years ago. Because you talked about it a minute ago, I think you said plastics, right? When I was in school, plastics was a really popular thing. It was a degree that was an option that we thought about going into school to do. Some of my friends were like, yeah, I'm going to go to school to get into plastics. It's pretty popular. We didn't realize the devastation that it was going to cause to all of us, right? The plastics. So P450, the major problem here with the toxins, it costs the body energy and nutrients to create glutathione. So, a lot of times we're not even aware of these chemicals. Like, we're talking about it as if we're all aware, like we could smell the bleach, right? But we're actually not even aware. When the guy comes by with a truck next door to your house, and you decided you didn't want to spray your yard with nasty chemicals, but the guy comes next door to your house, and your house is like 2 feet away from each other, and you're outside getting your mail, and your kids are playing in the yard. And he's got his mask on, and he's all suited up, right? And he's got his little wand, and he's just walking along. That's stuff you really can't smell, right? We are not even aware of the stuff that we're exposed to and the damage that this causes. Moving into the example, so think about the person who goes to work every day and they get a headache, right? So they get a headache every day that they go to work, and they think it's because of their job, it's stressful. But maybe it's because of the chemicals that the cleaning crew came in and used on their desk area the night before. And as soon as they walk in, they get a headache, right? So this person's got a headache every single day, and what do? Take a what? Tylenol or aspirin, right? So you're taking a Tylenol or an aspirin, but what about that same guy decides to go home and put new carpet in his house, right? I just want to fix up my house. I just want to put new carpet in my house. And so you put the new carpet in your house, and carpet has all kinds of chemicals that come off of it, right? It stirs up all the old stuff. It brings in all the other chemicals. And now I've been having to, this person is having to deal with the chemicals that were in there every day, right? And when he deals with the chemicals every day, he comes home, he doesn't have any reserves left over to be able to deal with the carpet. You see a lot of people end up with a major health crisis as a result of something like that, something simple. It's like, I just changed the carpet, or I painted my house, or I went to the dentist and I had a tooth worked on. Do you guys ever hear of people that kind of happens? That's when the world can come crashing down for a lot of people. And so I think a lot of times what they think is, back with this formaldehyde thing, what they thought the solution would be was for these people is they thought if we just take them out of the home, that they would get better. We'll take them away from the insult. Now, yeah, you don't want to be swimming in the cesspool all the time, right? But that actually didn't fix these people. These people ended up sicker longer, and many of them never recovered. That's because they don't know the things that we know that we're teaching you guys, how to get this stuff out of the system. Does that make sense? Do you guys know anybody who just feels like they have kind of lost their mind and had no hope, and they've been kind of experienced things like that? It's just the worst thing ever to see somebody lose hope like that. And so my prayer really is that you guys can, from today, have a revelation and get hope and feel freedom, for people out there that maybe you might know, to be able to understand this stuff. Because I'm going to show you at the end just ways that you guys can heal yourself and make sure you overcome this so this never happens to you. Toxicity equals chronic illness. Okay, so the increased exposure to toxicity is requiring an increase in nutritional needs. What we're finding is, because of how we talked about the zinc and the molybdenum and all these different nutrients that your body needs, because we're constantly getting a barrage of toxins that we aren't even aware of, maybe that we don't even choose to have, we're needing so many more nutrients in our everyday diet that are high quality nutrients in order for us to deal with the everyday onslaught. Does that make sense? That's why, if you've ever experienced, when you start following the advanced plan, let's say you follow the advanced plan. Does everybody know what the advanced plan is? Yes. You start following the advanced plan, right? You start getting really good nutrients in there, you start feeling really good. You can go 1 or 2 days and have a bad meal and just go completely have all your favorite things. That's why it's hard to recover now. Do you guys ever know? Has anybody ever experienced it? It's like, dang, all I did was like eat the cherry pie and eat the this and that, and it was like your favorite thing that you remember as a kid, but then you don't quite recover from it. It's because of the barrage of chemicals that we have in addition to the cherry pies. We don't have all the nutrients necessary to deal with, so that we can constantly be doing the xenobiotic detoxification. Remember that big long xenobiotic, the chemical detoxification your body was designed to do. So what are some of the signs of toxicity? Weight gain, sudden weight gain, or weight that just won't come off, the stubborn weight, right? Fatigue is a huge one. Allergies, that is huge right there. I mean, the number of people that have allergies because they just painted their house and now all of a sudden now they have allergies and they didn't really correlate it. It's not necessarily that they have allergies, it's that they didn't detoxify, right? And now their body is so inflamed that it's just dealing with it. It's got this spreading phenomenon going on. Guys, are you guys hearing me? Is this making sense? Okay, good. Digestive problems and different diagnoses that go with digestive problems. We're going to get in digestion here in a minute. Headaches are huge, thyroid dysfunction, and hormone dysfunctions. Toxins like to store themselves where? In fat. Your brain is mostly fat, right? Breast tissue is mostly fat. That's why you see a larger number of breast cancer than you do other cancers, because of the large amount of fat. Toxins like to hang out in those areas. So that's where the hormones and stuff come from, because you need that to be able to make good healthy hormones, right? If you can't clear this stuff and you have too much fat, then your hormones are going to be a mess. You're not going to ever be balanced in that area. Toxic enlarged fat cells. No, I didn't really want to get into this, but I really have to. It's not pretty. So if you look at the left side, these are 2 fat cells, right? And that's what they're supposed to look like, really, from the skin down through the layers, right? But when the cells are full of toxins, they get these weird shapes to them, and they end up with that cellulite appearance on the left-hand side, right? You can see the waving at the top, right? Can you see how the shape of the fat cells, the round yellow, is different than the shape of the fat cells on the right? They're larger, right? But they also have little almost like little kind of spokes sticking out of them a little bit. That's what happens with fat cells that are storing toxins, right? Your skin can't be smooth. That's why a lot of times I'll see people, they go through the metabolics program, they get tested. It's amazing how beautiful their skin looks after that. They start taking all the right nutrients. They start getting exactly what it is that they need. Their body does its proper xenobiotic detoxification, and then the skin looks amazing, and then the cellulite starts to melt off, right? That's because your body is given exactly what it needs. Now, this is really important. What you do not eat is just as important as what you do eat. The reason why I say this is because I hear a lot of people tell me, because I meet with people all day long, right? And they tell me that they're doing the advanced plan, okay? And you can be doing the advanced plan, but not getting all the nutrients you need, right? Can you see how that would be possible? You can be doing the advanced plan and maybe not necessarily eating kale or eating salads, right? Because you just looked at the list and you just said, ooh, I don't really like those things on that list. Anybody else do that? Mm-hmm. You're giggling. I see a lot of giggles, right? Or, you know, the protein amount can kind of go through the roof. Like, we're getting too much protein. Well, you're said to take the sugar out, right? Don't eat sugar. So I'll just eat a little larger piece of protein every time I eat. Now, what does protein in too large of amounts turn into? Sugar. Turns into sugar. Dang. You got that sugar somehow, right? So that's why the book is so clear. When you start reading through the advanced plan, you'll start seeing it says 15 to 25 grams, right? About the size of a deck of cards. Like, it gets real specific. It does that because we have a tendency that if you take the sugar away, I'm going to find sugar, and I'll do that through a larger amount of protein. That's what I'll do, right? So that's really important. And then also, again, the processed foods, that's just a huge thing. Like, there's just no nutrients in the processed foods. So, you guys ever seen this slide? This is a very busy slide, but I'll tell you, it's so cool. This is an awesome slide. So you can see this would be what should be your digestive system. That pink with the arrow going through there, that should be your digestive system, right? And so what can happen to your digestive system, that is really your largest detox area, right? You've got to have a healthy digestive system to be able to dump toxins, right? So the things that can affect that would be drugs. Let's say we're on a prescription drug and we're trying to do this. You got to know that the prescription drug is going to have an effect on your digestive system, right? Also, xenobiotics, some that we don't know of, right, that we got exposed to, right? Everybody remember what's xenobiotics again?
Chemicals.
What is it?
Chemicals.
I just got to know that you know it. Xenobiotic, right? What about antibiotics, right? Antibiotics, right? Or infections, cytokines, all these different things can play a role in messing with the absorption rate of your digestion, right? So when you mess with the absorption rate of it, what happens is it increases the permeability of things that are getting through there, and it makes it larger, and then stuff like fungus and toxins and parasites and all kinds of stuff get through there. You can see here, it actually just destroys it and inflames the cell lining, and then it makes the junctions get really big, so that all kinds of stuff gets through there. You ever see food that's undigested in the toilet? That's leaky gut. You know, stuff that should be absorbing is sitting in the toilet. That's not a good thing. That's leaky gut. What do you think that's doing to your immune system? What do you think that's doing to your ability to be able to detoxify, right? The chemicals when you get exposed to them. So some of the causes of leaky gut, one of the biggest things that's going on right now is GMOs. Does everybody know what GMOs are?
Yes.
Okay. Genetically modified. Also, NSAID use. That's going to be what? NSAIDs. Does everybody know what those are? Right? And then trans fats, antibiotics, chemical exposures, food additives, prescription drugs. They do. Guys, I hate to tell you that. I mean, for some of you who just feel like you have to, you know, or you are on them until your body you're trying to work on it, or some of you just have to. That's just the way it is. It will have an effect on your digestive system. You've got to know that. Decreased nerve supply is another thing. Leaky gut and depression. There's nobody that's going to overcome depression with an unhealthy gut. Like, you have to have a healthy gut. Anybody that has anxiety or any of the other emotional types of mental focus, things like that, you've got to have a healthy gut. It will not happen. You won't overcome this unless you heal your gut. Because 95%, like I said, serotonin is made there. And then here we go again, leaky gut and allergies. The correlation between leaky gut and allergies, right? One of the first steps to overcoming allergies is healing your gut. Got to have a healthy gut lining. So your toxic top 6, okay? If you want to kind of make a list of like the toxic top 6, this kind of stuff will make you want to burn your house down. Don't do that. Just pick a few things and start to work through those few things. And some people have been here 1 year, some people have been here a few months, some people have been here 17 years. We just keep getting a little bit better all the time. And so that's why you come to these things, just keep getting a little bit better. But the number one thing on the toxic top 6 list is going to be medications. We're taking 25 million pills per hour. When we look at, pretty wow, huh? When you look at the market, you think about it from a pharmaceutical drug company's perspective. They have a very good model going for them. They really don't need the medical doctors. They just put it on the commercials in between all your favorite shows. Mm-hmm. Right? And we get hooked looking at the sad person, right? And then she takes a pill because you're looking at the pictures, right? And then she's skipping, right? And we, interestingly enough, don't listen to the quiet voice on there that says, if you take this drug, you're liable to kill yourself and kill your neighbors. We don't hear those words, do we? We see in pictures. So the pharmaceutical companies have a very smart business plan going, and we're looking at those pictures and we're getting sucked into the picture, right? And so that's how we're getting to 25 million, right, pills per hour in the United States. Is it working? Is it effective? Are we healthier? No. Are we the healthiest nation? No. No, we're like the last, right? We're last. Now for emergency care, yep, that's good. But anything else? Nope. We got our work cut out for us. Maximized Living has its work cut out for us. We got a lot of work to do. We got to make up for lost ground, right? Last thing we want to do with a toxic person that having symptoms is to give them a prescription drug. But usually what they do is give them a prescription, right? When you don't feel good or you're expressing these symptoms, they think you're crazy. So they're going to give you usually what? Antidepressant, right? And then we mess up, our brain, which is the most important organ we have in the body that controls all function and healing, right? So it's a big mess that we're creating, right, with this. So every drug has to be detoxified out of the body and uses valuable antioxidants. So if I'm trying to deal with the carpet and I'm trying to deal with these other things, right, and I'm taking this prescription medication every day, do I have enough nutrients to deal with that? No. Can you see why we're developing chronic illnesses? We have more chronic illnesses diagnoses than ever before. Think about it. What are name some chronic illnesses that you know people that have? Eczema, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's, diabetes, migraines. What else? Autism. Chronic illnesses. Autism, if you just talk about autism, that alone, I didn't see autism when I was in high school. I'm 44 years old. I never knew one person that had autism when I was in high school. Now, by 2020, it'll be 1 in 2. 1 in 2. That should shock everybody. We got to do something different, huh?
What's the ratio currently?
1 in 50.
It's 1 in 50 right now. Boys.
1 in 50 were the last numbers that were released.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're expecting by 2020 that it's going to be 1 in 2. That means your chance, when you have a baby, your chance of that child being. Now I'm going to go through some things that'll keep that from happening and show you, but we have got some work to do. Moms that are having these babies, we got to make sure we're clean, right? Chemically clean, right? And we got to look at some other decisions that we're making that's creating this crisis. Household cleaning products. On my website, you can go to my website if you don't already have the list, and there's a list of toxic ingredients. Get the toxic ingredients, Take it to the store every time you go shopping and one by one start replacing things, right? Your shampoos, your deodorants. It's easy to transfer by. So if you normally spent this much, it's easy to transfer by. When things are a little bit more expensive, just put it on your list of I'll get to you when I can afford you, right? But start educating yourself on this kind of stuff. So household ingredients, the DEA is huge. Propylene glycol. What's propylene glycol? What do we found? Where do we find that? Antifreeze.
And vaccines.
Wow.
And vaccines, she just said. I wasn't going to go there yet. I was almost there, but not yet. Antifreeze, right? So we're putting propylene glycol in our hair products and our lotions and our stuff like that. And we're putting them in all vaccines of all kind. Flu shot, you name it, anything, it's going in all of them. Because it's a preservative, it'll hold it on the shelf, and they can ship it around the world, and it can last for, 5-10 years, however long it needs to last, right? And then we're getting that stuff injected in us, and you're not getting it out. We're having chronic sensitivities and illnesses, right? Chemical sensitivity because of it. Sodium lauryl sulfate. So you'll see this a lot, SLS. It's a degreaser that you find in almost every soap, shampoo, and toothpaste on the market. Almost every one of them. So anything that makes it kind of bubbly, fizzy kind of thing, sodium lauryl sulfate. Okay? There's a book called Clean House, Clean Planet. I suggest everybody get this book and just have it at home so you can kind of make some of this stuff at home, right? You can make, it's cool because the outside lining of the book, it has like drain unclogged, furniture polish, bug cleaner, oven cleaner. It gives you like a list of those things, and it tells you like the top 10 or 15 things you need in your house to be able to make them. I think about back when I was a kid, my mom used apple cider vinegar and water, and that's how we cleaned all the mirrors in our house, right, and the windows. So it's kind of getting back to some things that are cheaper, less toxic, and more natural, right? Teflon cookware. This is supposed to be banned. Is it banned?
No.
Anybody?
No.
It's not banned. If you are concerned about your pots and pans and you have not had them checked yet, I should have, Dorota, I think I had some paperwork for pots and pans checking them. But I usually have that up here at the front. If you would like somebody to check your pots and pans to see if they're toxic or not, I have a wonderful lady who will do that for you. She'll come to your house and she'll check all your pans, and she'll even cook for you. So that's really important, and I think you should put that on your priority list because, listen, every time you cook, you're putting those toxins in your food and you're eating it, and it's staying in your body and your tissues. Okay? Very important. Water. EPA reports that cancer risks for people who drink chlorinated water are 93% higher than people who don't. So just don't drink your tap water, guys. Don't do it. We don't live in Colorado. I think they've done some good stuff there for their water. I mean, our water is bad. Not only that, the water is full of that. Do you know what that is? Those are all the prescription drugs that all of our friends and loved ones and neighbors are peeing and pooping into the toilet, and they recycle it, and they only put chlorine in the water, so guess what we get? It's not killing that stuff. We're drinking it. So you want to make sure you have good, put something on the countertop that filters, even if you can't, afford the whole house system, get something that filters your water, okay? Here's something very disturbing. So let's say that all this stuff is in your water. You think you got the thing on your countertop, right, that's clean, right, and you're drinking. But you're taking a shower, and when you take a shower and you stand underneath that shower, it's hot. So what does heat do to your blood vessels? Dilate? Okay, it opens them up. So when it opens up the blood vessels to my brain, and I'm dumping all someone else's pharmaceutical medications and right into my brain. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Devastating. So we've got to look at our showers too and get those switched out. So we're filtering that as well. It's equivalent to, what does it say? 8 glasses of polluted water in a 15-minute shower. Yuck. Mold and biotoxins. If you've ever had, leaky sinks, pipes, water damage, this one's kind of complicated and kind of, it can totally change your life if you find out that this is really the source of your major health issue, biotoxicity from mold, right? It comes from mold, mildew or water stains that you might have at home or at work or something like that. I had a real estate place that I went into the building and they had like all these, ceiling tiles, and everyone in the entire building was sick, the sick building syndrome, or you go into a school and it smells musty, moldy, right? What happens is the air conditioning grabs the spores and shoots it through the entire ventilation system, so everybody gets sick, right? So sick building syndrome is can be very, very devastating. This is a picture of a patient that we had, and she had some water damage from her house, and we couldn't figure out why she was so sick. And you can see here all the mold. It was all black, like it was just awful black in there. You see all the black that's in there? She was debilitated. Completely debilitated, non-functional, could not take care of her 2 kids. Completely shut down. And that was from the mold that she had. When we found it, we were able to clean that up and get it out of her system, because we have a protocol to pull this stuff out of your system. She was able to get her life back after that. I've had countless people get their life back. We had one lady who she actually lost her mind. They were in her house. They had some air conditioning had leaked, and it just spread through the system, and it was closer to her bedroom, and she completely had lost her mind. Then she was in a wheelchair. She used to be a cheerleader, and she was just really, really smart and talented, and a cheerleader, and had all A's and doing really awesome, and lost function, lost her mind. She ended up in a mental institution. Lost her mind. And when we found out about it, my husband went over to the mental institution to get her. We got her adjusted, and she was running up and down the hallway with no clothes on. Completely lost it. We identified the source, we got it fixed. We pulled her out of that mental institution, got her home, and gave her the protocol to get this stuff out of her system. Totally got her life back. She started driving again, went back to school, she's out of a wheelchair. This stuff can really shut your nervous system completely down. So, very, very devastating if you have it. Persistent cough is one of the primary symptoms. It just kind of hangs out in there. You're not even sure, what is going on with this persistent cough? So you have to look around and just think about it. Have I had water damage? Was there any leaking anywhere? Was there an air conditioning leak? You want to just look around at your house if you're having any of these symptoms that are just going on for a while. Chronic respiratory infection, chronic fatigue, muscle and joints. The light sensitivity is awful. And then the brain fog, recent memory loss, and then, it can debilitate you to the point of, like I just told you, that patient, right? And then heavy metals is in that same group, number 5. Where are we getting heavy metals from primarily? Do you guys know? Silver fillings is a primary source, right? Did you guys know that? Anything that's silver in your mouth, half of it is made of mercury. But if you have mercury in your mouth, and every time you chew or you eat something hot, where does the off-gassing mercury go first? To your brain. And where is the next place it likes to go?
Your gut.
Gut and breast, right? Likes to hang out in those places, right? So these are huge. Now we're getting lead poisoning from every single thing that we bring over from China. One or two things, right? Just one or two things? Joking. Right? Everything that's coming over there is full of lead, so we're getting lead toxicity from that. Now here's the primary source next to the teeth is going to be vaccines. If you want to know what's in vaccines, you want to know about the decisions of what should I do about that, you can talk to me afterwards. I show people how to get waivers, so that you don't have to vaccinate your children. They are trying to come to Texas to take our rights away so that we can choose. By 2020, the agenda is to get all adults vaccinated. That's the agenda. That's the agenda. In the name of Jesus, that's not happening, but that is the agenda. And what that means is they won't give you a passport, a driver's license, a ticket to fly on an airplane, right? Unless they can see that you've had all your vaccines. You see that? Now, the Bible says money answers all things. So you just kind of follow the money on that, right? It's not about our welfare, it's about the money. Right. So we've got to really be very vocal about this to make sure this doesn't happen to our children and to us, right? Now, little warning, don't run out blindly and get your amalgams removed. There's a way you do it safely. I have a dentist that I've trained to be able to do this safely, so don't go out and do this. You know, you can make yourself sicker. I've had so many people who don't do it right, and then they end up swallowing the mercury, and then they're non-functional after that. So, or you lose your mind because mercury likes to hang out in the brain. So you see a lot of people with Alzheimer's, dementia, and things like that. So there's a way to do it. That's one of the tests that we do. I have a urine heavy metals test to see what kind of heavy metals that you have in your body. And so it's a 6-hour urine test that you can do. And that's on your order form, I think, tonight, right? Yeah, it's on your order form. So if that's something you're concerned about, or you think that's in your body and you're not sure of, there's a test you can take home, and what you do is you take these capsules of DMSA and it provokes it from coming out of the system, and then you measure it in your urine and you send it off, and the urine test will tell me exactly what metals and toxins you have in the system, okay? And then I walk you through the process how to safely get it out. So number 6 is GMOs, right? This is creepy to me. Genetically modified food is so creepy to me. The labeling is not required in the United States yet, but everyone else, and you can see on the map, is actually requiring the labeling. Again, what did I say what the Bible says? Money answers all things, right? So that's the money thing. Now here's what's really creepy about this whole genetically modified thing. The genes and the viruses and the toxins that come from these genetically modifieds, they actually attach themselves to our genes. And when they attach themselves to our genes, they morph our genes. And they turn on things that should not be turned on. And we start expressing diseases that we were never supposed to express. We carry all kinds of, cancer, and we carry all those genes, but they never have to be turned on. Lifestyle is what pulls that trigger. How we live our life. A lack of 5 essentials is what pulls that trigger of these diseases that we have that are sitting in our body and our genes. But with living the 5 essential lifestyle, you don't ever have to express any of those diseases. What this GMO stuff does that is so creepy is if you don't see the label, you're just going to buy it and you're going to eat it and you don't know, and then it's got this, these BT toxin and it attaches itself to your genes. I'm telling you guys, I actually do this testing, this metabolics testing here, this blood and this urine. I've been doing it for a little over 2 years now, and I'm seeing these bacteria in here that I didn't see before because of the overwhelming amount of genetically modified foods we're eating that we're not aware. That's what's not fair. We have to go above and beyond and work really hard to make sure that we're asking the questions and we're getting things certified organic and we're checking the labels. I think it's GMO free. There's a guide if you want to know more information. If you go to Mercola.com, he has this guide. It's the ultimate guide to GMOs. I think this is about a 24-page guide. I highly recommend you get this. I'm going to have Dorota put it on our website too, but you can go to Mercola.com and get this so you can know how to shop. There's also a way, there's an app on your phone that you can type in, I think it's genetically modified foods, and you can go to the store and know what foods are GMO free. Right? They're starting to get a little bit more with it, but we have to do a lot more work as consumers to protect ourselves because of this creepy, demonic stuff that's going on in our food. Okay, so how did you get the fish in the tomato? Why would they put a fish in a tomato? The thinking is that's a cold water fish. So if I put the fish in the tomato, that it'll last longer in the elements. So what you'll see when you buy these tomatoes is they look really red And the outside looks good, but the inside is just like mush, right? Don't eat that stuff. Tomatoes are like the worst. So that's your dinner. That's pretty creepy, right? Is that only me that's totally grossed out by that? Like, that is so creepy. That one's even worse, right? The banana with the fish. Or that. So these poor rats, they actually, over a period of time, they fed them genetically modified grain and they popped out with tumors, right? Then they changed the grain out and whatever they fed them and didn't do genetically modified, none of them got tumors. So these people are popping out with weird tumors because of this genetically modified. You'll see that people who have tumors on their body, if they took, they were able to test the inside of the tumor, they're finding all kinds of weird ingredients that should not be in the human body that the person did not say, yes, I want to put in my body. You see what I'm saying? All right, so genetically modified, the 7 dangers. Number 1, food allergy symptoms are increased. If you look at the pictures on the right, you'll really kind of see that. The bodily toxicity is increasing, negative reproductive effects. So many people now can't get pregnant, right? They're having reproductive effects. Negative effects on the digestive system. Well, you know, it's that toxin attaching, right, and destroying our digestive system, the bacteria that's in there. There are so many unknown genetic effects on humans, the death of insects and other animals, and mutations. We got a lot of mutations right now that are going on with people coming out with extra body parts, or the body parts are not shaped right, or one organ is taking on the function of another organ, and it's because of this. Because remember, it attaches itself to your DNA, your RNA, and it changes the expression of it. Does that make sense? I just threw this one in there for fun. Halloween candy that contains GMO. Did you know that every single one, okay, look, let's just play for a second. All right. 10 GMO ingredients in Halloween candy. The first one is sugar, right? So that's coming from genetically modified sugar beets, right? The second one, high fructose corn syrup, that comes from GMO corn. Cornstarch, GMO corn, soy lecithin, GMO soy, soybean oil, GMO soy, modified food starch, GMO corn, fructose. I just killed all of your desire for that candy, I hope, right? Awful, right? The genetically modified and all that stuff. And look at these, what did I say what the Bible says? Money answers all things, right? These companies oppose GMO labeling. Why would they oppose GMO labeling?
It's cheap.
Because it's going to affect their bottom line, right? But I'm really proud of those companies that are coming out and they're actually putting GMO labeling on that first. It makes someone like me tell every one of you to buy everything out there that's GMO free, right? And I hope we shut them all down. That forces them to change their ways. That's what we have to do. Now, solutions. I got a couple solutions for you now that y'all want to burn your house down, right? All right, the detox system is a #1 solution, right? What do we say? Phase 1 and phase 2, right? What does the word xenobiotic mean? Chemicals. So your body has to be able to do xenobiotic detoxification, right? You don't have all that you need in your nutrients. Most of us probably don't because our diet's not been awesome, right? That's why you have a product like Detox System. That's the only 2-step process to detox and eliminate permanently. That's what's beautiful about that too, is whatever you got exposed to that day, you permanently, you poop it out the next day, it's all gone. I'm just going to say it like it is. I'm a mom. It's just gone, right? You just get rid of it. So that's the beautiful part about it. Now, if you are a person that you were looking at that and you were like, uh-oh, I think I have heavy metals. I know I have vaccines. Maybe I was in the military. You know, I got the flu shot. I didn't know. Nobody told me, right? If you're that person, or I have a mouthful of silver fillings, and you know you've had like memory problems, or you're irritable with sounds, or you're worried about your health that we just talked about, then this package is the heavy metal package. I think that's on your order form. You guys will not be able to do everything. Just pick something, put a list together of things you know you need to do, and pick one thing and just get started with that. Because like I said, this kind of talk makes you feel like you want to burn your house down. You can't do that. But I'm empowering you so that you can have revelation and be able to change your life and help other people, right? So the heavy metal bundle, that's going to be on the right-hand side. Now what it has is a test to see what you have, and it also has the solution to get it out of your system. Okay, so that's what's beautiful about the package. One of the best things that I have ever done, is the metabolics testing. If you have never done the metabolics testing, put that on your action list, because if you want to know if you have these chemicals, like if you want to know, have I been exposed to toluene or dioxin or PCBs or these things that we talked about, this test will tell me if you have, and then it'll tell you how to get rid of it. That's what's beautiful about it. It'll tell you if you're headed toward cancer, maybe you have a cancer marker or a heart disease marker, or you have a diabetes marker, or maybe you autoimmune marker. This test will tell me all of that. And the cool thing is, if you have a skin issue, every single skin issue has healed. Every 100% of skin issues has healed. Because when you give your body what it needs, it just heals. And I'm taking a sample of your own blood and urine, so we know exactly what you need, okay? We're not guessing anymore. That's what that test does. Now you can do this. Rebecca can email this to you. You can take the little questionnaire, and then I'll give you kind of your recommendations. So we all know that the nervous system, if you don't have that, it don't matter how much vitamin D you take, right? You've got to be able to have your nervous system to be able to turn all your detox organs on, or none of this is going to work. Does that make sense? This is the coolest. Can you see? The headache, the immune system, the hay fever, the sinus, the eczema, the stiff neck, the tonsillitis, the chronic cough, the asthma, heart conditions, gallbladder, bronchitis, liver, blood pressure, indigestion, heartburn, gastritis, lowered immunity, allergies, kidney, acne, constipation, cramps, premenstrual, menstrual, bedwetting, sciatica, poor circulation, and cramping. Isn't that awesome? That's what I get to do all day. I get to relieve the interference to God's system so your body can heal itself. Isn't that awesome? Dr. David and I, and what we do, I just think it's amazing. God is amazing. That's what I think. Was this helpful?
Very helpful.
Does anybody want to burn their house down?
Yes.
Don't burn your house down. All right, let me pray for you, because I don't want you feeling that way. Father, I just pray right now that this information was revelation, that it gave hope and freedom to the people in this room and anybody who's watching it on the video in the future. Father, I pray that we will all have the tools necessary to allow our body that you designed to be able to detoxify naturally. The tools necessary. Father, help us to eat food by God, food that you gave us. And show us, give us a heightened level of discernment for the food that's out there that is just poison, that's from the devil, this genetically modified stuff. And Father, I just pray that you will shut down all the lies from all these companies that are trying to make us sick. And Father, just show us and give us your light, your revelation, your hope, your peace. And we just pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.